story of Cain and Abel is one of the earliest and most well-known narratives in the Bible, found in Genesis 4:1-16. It tells the tragic tale of the first murder in human history, driven by jealousy, anger, and a lack of control over sinful desires. Here's a detailed account of the story. 1. The birth of Cain and Abel. After Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden for disobeying God, they began to live and populate the earth. Eve gave birth to her first son, Cain, and later to his brother, Abel. Cain became a farmer, working the soil and growing crops. Abel became a shepherd, taking care of flocks and herds. Both brothers grew up, and as was the custom, they brought offerings to the Lord. At 2, the offerings. At some point, Cain and Abel each presented a sacrifice to God. Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil, crops, as his offering. Abel brought the fat portions from the firstborn of his flock, which was a more valuable and meaningful offering. The Bible tells us that the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but he did not look with favor on Cain's offering. Although the Bible does not specify the exact reason why Abel's offering was accepted and Cain's was rejected, it is often understood that Abel's offering was given in faith and with the best he had, while Cain's was given without the same sincerity or reverence. 3. Cain's jealousy and anger. When God accepted Abel's offering but not his, Cain became very angry and downcast. His jealousy of Abel's favor with God consumed him. Seeing Cain's anger, God spoke to him and warned him to control his emotions and his sinful desires. God told Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it." Genesis 4:6-7. God's warning to Cain was clear. Sin is like a predator, waiting to take control, but Cain had the ability to overcome it by doing what was right. 4. The murder. Despite God's warning, Cain did not heed his advice. His jealousy and resentment toward Abel grew. One day, Cain invited Abel to go out into the field with him. Once they were alone, Cain attacked Abel and killed him. This was the first recorded murder in history, a result of unchecked anger and jealousy. 5. God confronts Cain. After the murder, God approached Cain and asked him, "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain responded with defiance and a lack of remorse, saying, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Genesis 4:9. But God, who knew what had happened, said to Cain, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." Genesis 4:10. God then pronounced judgment on Cain for his heinous act. As punishment, the ground that had absorbed Abel's blood would no longer yield crops for Cain, and he would become a restless wanderer on the earth. 6. Cain's plea and God's mercy. Cain was overwhelmed by his punishment and feared for his life, saying, "My punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." Genesis 4:13-14. Despite Cain's crime, God showed him a measure of mercy. He placed a mark on Cain so that no one would kill him. The exact nature of this mark is not explained in the Bible, but it served as a divine protection over Cain. God declared that if anyone killed Cain, they would suffer vengeance 7 times over. Cain then went out from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. 7. Key themes and lessons. 1. Jealousy and sin's consequences. The story of Cain and Abel is a powerful lesson about the dangers of jealousy and unchecked anger. Cain's jealousy of his brother led to hatred and ultimately murder. God warned Cain that sin was crouching at his door, but Cain chose to give in to it rather than control his emotions. 2. God's justice and mercy. Though God's judgment on Cain was severe, it was also tempered with mercy. Despite Cain's sin, God protected him from being killed by others, showing that even in judgment, God offers grace. 3. Responsibility for others. Cain's question, "Am I my brother's keeper?" is often seen as an expression of his refusal to accept responsibility for his actions and for the well-being of his brother. The Bible's broader message emphasizes that we do have a responsibility to care for and look out for one another. 4. True worship and sacrifice. The story also highlights the importance of faith and sincerity in worship. Abel's offering was accepted because it was given with a pure heart and with the best of what he had, while Cain's offering was rejected, possibly because it lacked the same genuine faith or quality. The Bible later reflects on this in the New Testament, where Abel is commended for his faith, Hebrews 11:4. Legacy of the story. The story of Cain and Abel is often used to illustrate the destructive power of envy and hatred, and how these emotions can lead to violence if left unchecked. It also raises profound questions about human responsibility, the nature of sin, and the need for repentance and reconciliation. The narrative ends with Cain wandering the earth, a marked man, living with the consequences of his actions. It serves as a sobering reminder of the gravity of sin and the importance of mastering one's emotions and desires before they lead to irreversible harm.